Good morning. Welcome to the second part of this video in which we will be covering the remaining 10 questions. In question 31, they ask which flower structure produces pollen. Always the male structure produces pollen and in plants it is the anther. Now in question number 32, we have to describe each of the labeled parts. First of all, this is the oviduct where fertilization occurs. Now this is, you can see this is an egg and this U-shaped thing is the uterus. Now, this is the vagina where copulation occurs, and upward to it is the cervix. Now, anterior to it always lies the urethra. So the correct option, if we will see, which matches each of the following, which I just described, is B. And this is the two is the urinary bladder in which urine is stored. And the normal capacity of the urinary bladder is about 1 to 1.5 liters. Now, in question number 32, we need to know that what is the function of the amniotic fluid. It is to provide support and protection to the fetus to protect it from any shocks or injury, and secondly to provide it with nourishment, and likewise to take away all the excretory substances such as CO2 and urea. So now which are the structures supporting and protecting it? Obviously Q, as you can see, Q and S. The outer layering of the amniotic membrane and the amniotic fluid are protecting it, whereas it's receiving the feeding from the vitelline duct. Over here you can see R and P, and these are the chorionic folds. Now in question number 34, which of the following statements are correct? Each chromosomes contain a molecule of DNA. Each gene is a section of a DNA on a chromosome. A gene calls contains smaller regions called alleles. So number three is definitely correct. Options A, C, and D. Another trick which will help you to solve MCQs is that you will often see that the option which is correct, it will appear in multiple options, such as you can see that option B is incorrect. So only in all of the other three is present. So even if you didn't know the answer to this question, you can reasonably infer that three will be in the answer. Now coming to A, C, and D. A gene is a section of a DNA on a chromosome. Yeah, this is correct. So option 2 and 3 is correct. Now on question number 35, they basically showed us a diagram and we have to make the cross product of each of the following. So there's a cross between a male and a female. Need to know that this capital E denotes that the allele is dominant and a small e denotes that the allele is recessive. So this is an example of a homozygous person who is, and similarly is the case with small e and small e. However, this combination in which there is one capital letter and the other small letter, it is known as a heterozygous combination. So whenever we pair a capital E with a small e, the resultant offspring are always dominant in whichever the gene of the M is. So you just need to make a cross product of the M and N, and you'll get to know that the answer will be most probably C. Now in question number 36, you need to know that the process of respiration is occurring. So the greater the amount of air which will be respired from the yeast, the greater will be the amount of air which will be accumulated into the balloon. So if we go into the order, obviously number one will have contained the most amount of air since there is a lot of yeast and sugar as yeast, sugar and water. So with yeast will be easily able to carry out aerobic respiration. Now we come to number three. In the number three, there is water and yeast. However, due to no sugar, the yeast will not be able to obtain energy, so it will be inflated still, but will be lesser than number one. So one is greater than three, and lastly two, because last two contains no air. There is no yeast to carry out aerobic respiration. So the correct option would be A. Now, on question number 37. I talked to you previously as well that pyramid of biomass and pyramid of numbers are exactly inversely proportional to each other and they have an exactly opposite size to each other. So naturally, you see that a tree will have for the largest weight, if we could wait, however, for example, on a single tree, there are many and many lava. So a single tree would have a small number, would only have one number, but it will be but it would weigh larger than all the lava which have been feeding on it. So if we represent the tree on the pyramid of biomass, it would appear somewhat like this. That this is a tree, these are the lava, and on the lava are the insects, and these insects are being eaten by the birds, and the birds are consequently being eaten by the fleas, and thus the fleas have the least amount of weight. However, we would to represent the same thing on the pyramid of pyramid of numbers, there would be a single tree which is represented in underneath over here by a single block, and in complete contrast, this number of these, this is a you can which we can see that they have very negligible weight over here, but over here they would have large amount of beam in present in large amount of numbers, probably thousands of numbers. So they have been represented by a broad rectangular block. So the correct option is 2 and 3C. Now in question number 38, what was the initial source of energy? The initial source of energy. They've talked about fossil fuels used as energy sources today. So yeah, heat released by decomposers feeding on dead animals and plants. We know that most of the fossil fuels today aren't produced in a rapid period, but by the decomposition over millions and millions of years, probably by the age of the dinosaurs over 3.2 million years. Over decomposition, the fossil fuels such as coal are obtained. However, they contribute to global warming. Thus we should reduce their impact on our everyday life. Now, the term describes the number of different species. This refers to the process of biodiversity, and similarly is natural selection, in which the greater the number of organisms in a specific environment or habitat, the greater they have competition because of the finite number of resources. Lastly, we come to the last question, number 40. This is the process of eutrophication, in which, first of all, we need to understand that the once the bacteria multiply, consequently, the concentration of oxygen in the water decreases. So what happens first? First there is increased growth of single cellular plants. Yeah, this is correct option. And these are mainly bacteria. Single celled water plants make the water green. Okay. Now, next is that the bacteria multiply, and then the concentration of oxygen decreases, and finally, the water plants die and fall to the bottom. Okay, so because why do they die at the bottom? Because they can't survive without the presence of oxygen. So the correct option would be D. Thank you. I hope you part this two parts video. Goodbye.